The stagecoach rattled into Winnemucca, Nevada on a blistering afternoon in July 1878, carrying a woman who had stopped believing in kindness 3 states ago. Priscilla Foster stepped down onto the dusty street with her carpetbag clutched tight against her ribs, eyes scanning the wooden storefronts and weathered faces as if cataloging threats. She was 22 years old and had learned through bitter experience that trust was a luxury she could no longer afford. The driver tipped his hat, and she paid him without meeting his eyes, counting the coins twice before releasing them into his palm. Behind her, someone cleared their throat and she spun around so quickly her skirts kicked up dust. "Pardon me, miss." The man stood a respectful distance away, hat already in his hands. He was tall and lean with sun-darkened skin and dark hair that needed cutting. His eyes were an unexpected blue-green that reminded her of the mountain lakes she had seen from the stagecoach window. "Did not mean to startle you. I am Vincent Patterson. Your Uncle Samuel hired me to bring you out to his ranch." Priscilla studied him with the wariness of a wild animal. Vincent Patterson looked to be about 25, dressed in worn denim and a faded red shirt. His boots were scuffed but well-maintained, and the gun at his hip sat comfortably, like it belonged there. She noticed his hands were calloused and scarred, working hands, but they held his hat gently. "How do I know Uncle Samuel actually sent you?" Her voice came out harder than she intended, sharp as broken glass. Vincent did not flinch at her tone. Instead, he reached slowly into his shirt pocket, giving her time to see the movement, and pulled out a folded piece of paper. "He said you would be cautious, said to give you this letter in his own hand." She snatched the paper and moved several steps away before unfolding it. The handwriting was indeed her uncle's, the same careful script from the letter that had invited her to Nevada after her father's death. The letter explained that Vincent worked for him, had done so for 3 years, and could be trusted to bring her safely to the ranch 15 miles outside of town. "Samuel also said to tell you about the time you were 8 years old and hid his tobacco pipe in the chicken coop because you thought smoking was wicked," Vincent added quietly. "Said you would remember that." Despite herself, Priscilla felt her shoulders relax slightly. No one but family would know that story. She folded the letter and tucked it into her pocket, then looked at Vincent properly for the first time. His expression was patient, without irritation at her suspicion or smugness at having proven himself. "I remember," she said. "My apologies for the interrogation." "No apology needed, Miss Foster." Vincent settled his hat back on his head. "A woman traveling alone has every right to be careful. Your trunk is already loaded in the wagon, ready when you are." The wagon was actually well-maintained, she noted with surprise, with a canvas cover to provide shade and a padded seat that someone had clearly thought to add for her comfort. Vincent helped her up with a hand that released hers the moment she was settled, then climbed up beside her and took the reins. They rode in silence for the first mile. Winnemucca fell away behind them, giving way to sagebrush and endless sky. The summer heat pressed down like a physical weight, but the air was so dry it did not feel as oppressive as the humid summers she remembered from Missouri. Priscilla kept her hands folded in her lap and her eyes on the landscape, hyper-aware of the man beside her. "Your uncle is a good man," Vincent said eventually. "I know you do not know me, so my word might not mean much, but I wanted you to know that. He has been looking forward to your arrival for weeks now. I appreciate you telling me." Priscilla kept her voice neutral. "How long have you worked for him?" 3 years this coming September. I came to Nevada looking for ranch work, and Samuel gave me a chance when most would not have. I was pretty rough around the edges back then." Vincent glanced at her briefly, then back to the road. "He taught me about raising horses. about treating animals and people with respect, about being steady. There was something in the way he said that last word, steady, that made Priscilla think he had not always been that way. She filed the observation away, still gathering information, still deciding if she was safe. "What happened to your edges?" she asked before she could stop herself. Vincent was quiet for a moment, considering. "Life, I suppose. Lost my family young, my parents to fever and my sister in childbirth along with her baby. Spent a few years angry at the world and everyone in it. Samuel saw past all that anger to something worth salvaging. Been trying to prove him right ever since." The honesty caught her off guard. Most men she had encountered recently dealt in lies and half-truths, or worse, in truths twisted to serve their own purposes. Vincent spoke plainly, without embellishment or obvious manipulation. She did not know what to do with that. "I am sorry for your losses," she said quietly. "Thank you. I am sorry for whatever brought you out here with such wariness in your eyes." Priscilla stiffened. "I did not realize my eyes revealed anything." "They reveal you have been hurt and learned to protect yourself." Vincent kept his gaze on the horses. "That is nothing to be ashamed of. I am just sorry the world gave you cause." They did not speak much after that, but the silence felt less tense. Priscilla watched the landscape roll past, so different from Missouri with its green humidity. Nevada was all browns and golds, dotted with sage and scrub brush, with mountains rising purple in the distance. It felt vast and empty in a way that made her chest ache. Empty meant nowhere to hide, but it also meant room to breathe. The Patterson ranch appeared gradually, starting with scattered horses in a fenced pasture, then a barn that looked solid and well kept, then finally a ranch house built of weathered wood with a wide porch. A man stepped out as they approached, and Priscilla recognized her Uncle Samuel despite the years since she had last seen him. He was grayer now, more weathered, but his eyes held the same kindness she remembered. "Priscilla." He came down the steps as Vincent pulled the wagon to a stop. "Thank you for coming all this way." She let him help her down, let him embrace her, and felt something tight in her chest threaten to crack open. Uncle Samuel smelled like horses and pipe smoke and coffee, familiar and safe. She held herself rigid in his arms, afraid that if she relaxed even a fraction, she would shatter completely. "Thank you for inviting me," she managed. "Your home is lovely. It is your home now for as long as you need it to be." Samuel pulled back to look at her face, concern flickering across his features. Whatever he saw there made him gentle his voice even further. "Vincent will bring your trunk inside. Let me show you to your room. I imagine you are exhausted from traveling." The room was small but clean, with a window that looked out over the horse pastures. Someone had put fresh wildflowers in a jar on the dresser, a yellow bloom she did not recognize. The bed had a colorful quilt, and the washstand held a full pitcher of water. It was more consideration than she had experienced in a very long time. "Dinner is at 6, Samuel said from the doorway. "But if you need to rest, I can have Vincent bring something to your room." "No, I will come down." Priscilla set her carpet bag on the bed. "Thank you, Uncle Samuel, for everything." After he left, she sat on the edge of the bed and let herself shake. She had made it. 3 weeks of traveling, 3 weeks of watching her back and jumping at shadows, and she had finally made it somewhere safe. Except she did not know if anywhere was truly safe anymore. Thomas had taught her that lesson thoroughly. She pushed thoughts of Thomas away and focused on unpacking her meager belongings. The trunk Vincent carried in held everything she owned in the world now. 2 dresses, one for everyday and one nicer one for church, undergarments and stockings. A hairbrush that had been her mother's, the small wooden box containing her parents' wedding rings, A book of poetry she could not bring herself to leave behind, even though poetry felt like something from another life. Dinner was simple but well prepared. Beef stew with vegetables and fresh bread. Samuel had set the table in the kitchen, more homely than formal. Vincent joined them, washing up at the pump outside first and hanging his hat by the door. He sat across from her and kept his attention on his food, not staring but not ignoring her either. "Vincent does most of the cooking around here," Samuel said with a grin. "I can manage not to starve, but he actually has a talent for it. His mother taught him before she passed." "It is very good," Priscilla said. "Thank you." Vincent nodded his acknowledgement. "Glad you like it." Cooking is straightforward. Follow the recipe, pay attention to what you are doing, and things turn out right. I appreciate that kind of certainty. "Not much else in life offers that," Samuel observed. "No, sir, there is not." Priscilla ate slowly, listening to the easy conversation between the two men. They talked about the horses, about a fence that needed mending, about whether they should buy more breeding stock this year or wait until spring. It was comfortable and ordinary, the kind of talk that came from people who knew each other well and did not need to perform. "Priscilla, I should explain the situation here," Samuel said after a while. "I run a horse ranch, breeding and training. Vincent is my only full-time hand, though we hire on extra help during busy seasons. I know you have been through difficult times. Your letter mentioned your father's passing, but not much else. I want you to know you are welcome here as long as you need, no questions asked and no expectations." The kindness in his voice made her throat tight. "Thank you. I will try to earn my keep. I can cook and clean, help with whatever you need. This is not about earning anything. You are family." Samuel reached across the table and patted her hand briefly before withdrawing. "But if you want to be useful, I will not stop you. Just know it is not required." After dinner, Priscilla insisted on washing the dishes despite Samuel's protests. Vincent dried them with a methodical efficiency, stacking plates carefully in the cupboard. They worked in silence until Priscilla finally spoke. "Why are you being so kind to me?" Vincent paused with a dish towel in his hands. "Do I need a reason? Everyone has reasons." "I suppose that is true." He went back to drying. "My reason is that Samuel cares about you and I care about Samuel. Also, you look like someone who has not had much kindness lately. Seems like reason enough. You do not know anything about me." "No, I do not." Vincent set down a dried plate. "But I know the look of someone who has been running. I wore that look for a long time after I lost my family. Took Samuel's patience and a lot of time before I could stop looking over my shoulder." Priscilla's hands stilled in the wash water. "What if I brought trouble with me? Then we will deal with it." Vincent's voice was calm, certain. "You are under Samuel's protection now, which means you are under mine too. That is how it works here." She wanted to argue, to tell him he did not understand, that the trouble she carried was not the kind that could be faced down with guns and determination. But the words stuck in her throat, and she went back to washing dishes in silence. That night, lying in the unfamiliar bed, Priscilla listened to the sounds of the Nevada night, crickets and the distant call of an owl, the creak of wood settling, wind moving through the sage. It was so quiet compared to the cities she had been fleeing through, quiet enough that her thoughts became too loud. She thought about Thomas, about his charm and his promises, about the way his smile had turned cruel, about the bruises he had left and the terror she had felt, about the night she had finally run, stealing away while he slept off his whiskey, knowing that if she stayed she would not survive. She had been running for 6 months, using the last of her inheritance money to stay one step ahead, always afraid he would find her. When her father died and Uncle Samuel's letter found her, it had felt like providence. Nevada was far from Missouri, far from Thomas and his threats, but she had stopped believing in providence, just like she had stopped believing in love and kindness and all the pretty lies people told. Morning came bright and hot. Priscilla woke to the smell of coffee and found her way to the kitchen where Vincent was already frying eggs. He looked up when she entered, offering a slight smile. "Morning, Miss Foster. Coffee is fresh if you want some." She poured herself a cup and stood by the window, looking out at the pastures where horses grazed peacefully. "Where is Uncle Samuel?" "Already out checking on the mares. We have 3 that are due to foal in the next few weeks, so he likes to look in on them early." Vincent plated the eggs along with some bacon and toast. "He will be back shortly. Sit and eat while it is hot." Priscilla sat, and Vincent joined her with his own plate. He ate like someone who had done hard work and expected to do more, efficiently but without rushing. She found herself watching him, trying to reconcile his easy manner with her learned distrust of men. "What are you thinking about so hard?" Vincent asked. "How you seem too good to be true." The words came out before she could filter them. Vincent set down his fork. "I am not too good to be true. I am just a man trying to do right. Some days I manage it better than others. Most men I have known did not try at all. Then you have known the wrong men." His eyes met hers steadily. "I am sorry for that, but not all of us are cruel, Priscilla. May I call you Priscilla?" The use of her first name should have felt presumptuous, but somehow it did not. "Yes, and I will call you Vincent." "That seems fair." He returned to his breakfast. "Samuel wants me to start working with a young stallion today. Beautiful animal, but skittish. Previous owner did not treat him well. If you want to watch, you are welcome. I think you might find it interesting." "Why would I find it interesting?" "Because teaching a frightened creature to trust again takes patience and time. Cannot rush it, cannot force it. You just have to show up every day and prove you are safe." Vincent met her eyes again. "Some things are worth the wait." Priscilla felt something flutter in her chest, something she thought Thomas had killed entirely. She pushed it down ruthlessly. "I suppose I could watch. I have nothing else planned." The stallion was a beautiful bay with a white blaze down his face. He danced nervously at the end of a lead rope as Vincent entered the round pen, tossing his head and showing the whites of his eyes. Vincent moved slowly, speaking in a low, constant murmur that Priscilla could not quite make out from where she sat on the fence rail. "That horse will kill him," said a voice beside her. Samuel had appeared without her noticing, settling onto the fence next to her. That is what everyone said when Vincent bought him off a rancher near Elko. Said the animal was ruined, too wild to ever be useful. What did Vincent say? He said the horse was not wild, just scared. Said fear and wildness are not the same thing. Samuel watched Vincent work with obvious affection. That was 2 months ago. Watch what happens. In the pen, Vincent had let the stallion run, keeping him moving in circles but not chasing him, just being a steady presence. After several minutes, the horse began to slow. Vincent changed direction and the horse followed. Then Vincent did something Priscilla did not expect. He turned his back on the stallion and walked to the center of the pen, his posture relaxed. The horse stopped running. It stood at the edge of the pen, sides heaving, watching Vincent. Vincent waited, still talking in that low voice. After a long moment, the stallion took a step toward him, then another. Then it was walking across the pen, and Vincent still did not turn around until the horse's nose touched his shoulder. Vincent turned slowly and reached up to stroke the blazed face. The stallion allowed it, no longer dancing away. "Well, I will be damned," Samuel said softly. "That is the first time that animal has willingly approached anyone." Priscilla could not look away. There was something mesmerizing about the scene, about Vincent's infinite patience and the horse's tentative trust. She watched Vincent spend another 30 minutes just standing with the stallion, touching him gently, letting him understand that this human meant safety instead of pain. When Vincent finally left the pen, he walked over to where Priscilla and Samuel sat. His shirt was dark with sweat and dust streaked his face, but his eyes were bright with satisfaction. "Good work," Samuel said. "I did not think you would get him to approach for another week at least." He was ready, just had to wait for him to decide. Vincent looked at Priscilla. "What did you think?" "I think you are very patient. Patience is just stubbornness wearing a kinder face." Vincent grinned, and Priscilla felt that flutter again, stronger this time. Some things are worth being stubborn about. The days developed a rhythm. Priscilla woke early and helped with breakfast, then spent her mornings working in the house or the garden Samuel had half-heartedly maintained. Afternoons, she often found herself watching Vincent work with horses, drawn despite herself to his quiet competence and steady presence. Evenings meant dinner together, the three of them, with conversation that gradually became easier. Vincent never pushed. He greeted her each morning with the same calm courtesy, asked how she was feeling without prying into why she might not be well, offered his company without demanding hers. When she snapped at him one morning, frustrated by her own inability to relax, he simply nodded and said he understood, then gave her space without withdrawing entirely. "How do you do that?" she asked him a few days later. They were in the barn, Vincent mending tack while she pretended to organize already organized supplies. Do what? Not get angry, not demand explanations. Just accept things. Vincent set down the bridle he was working on. "I guess I learned that people have their reasons for how they act. Getting angry about it does not help anything. You will tell me what you need to tell me when you are ready, or you will not. Either way, I am still going to be here." "Why? Why what? Why are you still going to be here? You do not owe me anything." Vincent studied her for a long moment. "Maybe I want to be here. Did you consider that? I do not understand why anyone would want to be around me. I am difficult and suspicious and probably terrible company. You are careful and self-protective, which makes sense given whatever happened to you. And you are interesting and sharp-minded and better company than you think." Vincent returned to his mending. "Also, you are beautiful, though I imagine you do not want to hear that right now." Priscilla felt heat flood her face. "You should not say things like that." "Why not? It is true." "Because," she struggled for words, "because I do not know what to do with it." "You do not have to do anything with it. I am just stating a fact." Vincent's hands worked the leather with practiced ease. "Beautiful things exist in the world, Priscilla. You are one of them. That is not a demand or an expectation. It is just true." She fled the barn, heart pounding, and spent the rest of the afternoon hiding in her room. But that evening at dinner, Vincent acted as if nothing had happened, passing her the potatoes and asking Samuel about the foaling schedule. His easy normalcy made something inside her begin to crack, just a little. Summer deepened into August. 3 mares foaled, and Priscilla found herself enchanted by the gangly-legged babies who stumbled around their pasture with unearned confidence. Vincent let her help bottle feed one, whose mother did not produce enough milk, showing her how to hold the bottle at the right angle while the foal sucked enthusiastically. "She likes you," Vincent observed, watching the filly nuzzle Priscilla's hand looking for more milk. "How can you tell?" "Animals know who is safe. Look how relaxed she is with you." Vincent reached out to scratch the filly's ears. "You have a gentle touch. That matters to creatures that have learned to be wary." "Is that what I am, a wary creature? Are you not?" Priscilla could not argue with that. The filly pushed her velvet nose into Priscilla's palm, and she felt her chest tighten with unexpected emotion. "When was the last time anything had trusted her touch, Vincent?" she said quietly. "I was engaged, back in Missouri. His name was Thomas Bradley." Vincent went very still beside her, but he did not interrupt. He was charming at first, everything I thought I wanted, but after my father died and we were officially engaged, he changed. Or maybe he just stopped pretending. The words came easier than she expected, like lancing a wound. He drank, and when he drank, he got mean. He hit me, told me I was worthless, that no one else would ever want me, that I belonged to him. Priscilla, Vincent's voice was rough with suppressed feeling. I ran. 6 months ago, I waited until he passed out and I took what money I had left and I ran. I have been moving ever since, afraid he would find me, afraid he would make good on his threats. She looked at Vincent finally, forcing herself to meet his eyes. That is why I am the way I am. That is the trouble I might have brought with me. Vincent was quiet for a long moment, his jaw tight. When he spoke, his voice was carefully controlled. Thank you for telling me. I know that was not easy, and I want you to know that he will never lay a hand on you again. If he comes here, he will have to go through Samuel and me, and I promise you that will not go well for him. You do not have to protect me. I know I do not have to. I want to. Vincent reached out slowly, telegraphing his movement, and laid his hand over hers where it rested on the fence rail. You are safe here, Priscilla. I know you do not quite believe that yet, but I am going to keep showing you until you do. His hand was warm and calloused and steady, and Priscilla did not pull away. The seasons began to change as August gave way to September. The brutal heat eased slightly, and the evening air took on a cooler edge. Vincent celebrated his 3-year anniversary of working for Samuel with a cake Priscilla baked, and she found herself pleased by how much he obviously enjoyed it. "This is delicious," he said, eyes closing in appreciation. "Where did you learn to bake like this?" "My mother taught me, before she died." Priscilla watched him take another bite. "She said a good cake could make almost any occasion better. Your mother was a wise woman." They were sitting on the porch after dinner, watching the sun set over the distant mountains. Samuel had excused himself to bed early, leaving Vincent and Priscilla alone in the cooling darkness. Crickets sang in the sage, and somewhere a coyote called. "I have been here for 2 months now," Priscilla said. "Yes, you have. I keep thinking I should still feel afraid, that I should be watching the road waiting for Thomas to appear, but I do not feel that way anymore." She looked at Vincent in the dimness. "You did that. You and Uncle Samuel. You made me feel safe. Good. You deserve to feel safe." "I do not know what I deserve." Priscilla pulled her shawl tighter around her shoulders. "But I know I am grateful. For the first time in a very long time, I am not afraid all the time." Vincent shifted in his chair, turning to face her more fully. "Priscilla, I want to tell you something. You do not have to respond or do anything about it. I just need to say it." Her heart began to pound. "All right. I care about you, more than I probably should, more than is wise. You have been here 2 months, and in that time you have become important to me. I think about you when I am working. I look forward to seeing you at meals. I find excuses to be near you." He paused, searching for words. "I am not asking you to feel the same way. I know you are still healing from what Thomas did. But I wanted you to know that when you are ready, if you are ever ready, I would like to court you properly, to see if what I feel might grow into something mutual." Priscilla sat frozen, her mind racing. Part of her wanted to run, to retreat into the safety of solitude. But another part, a part that was growing stronger every day, wanted to stay, wanted to see where this might lead. "I do not know if I can," she whispered. "I do not know if I am capable of that anymore. That is all right." "I am not going anywhere," Vincent's voice was gentle. "Take all the time you need. I will still be here." Why would you wait for someone as broken as me? You are not broken, Priscilla. You are healing. There is a difference." Vincent leaned forward, elbows on his knees. "And I would wait because you are worth waiting for. Because the woman I see every day, getting stronger and braver, is someone extraordinary. Because when you smile, which you are doing more often now, it feels like sunrise." Tears spilled down Priscilla's cheeks before she could stop them. Vincent produced a handkerchief from his pocket and offered it to her, not moving closer, just extending it within reach. "I am sorry," she managed. "I am not crying because I am sad. I know, I think I care about you too. That terrifies me. That is fair." Vincent settled back in his chair. "Fear is just proof you have something worth protecting. We will go slow, at whatever pace you need. No pressure, no expectations. Just us, figuring this out together." Autumn arrived properly in October, painting the mountains with gold and red. The ranch work shifted to preparing for winter, and Priscilla found herself working alongside Vincent more often. He taught her about horses, about reading their moods and understanding their personalities. He showed her how to approach a skittish animal, how to move with confidence but without aggression. "You are good at this," he said one afternoon as she successfully haltered a young gelding that had been giving them trouble. "I have a good teacher. You have good instincts. I am just helping you trust them." They were standing close together in the barn, and Priscilla could smell the clean scent of hay and horses and the faint scent of soap that clung to Vincent's skin. When he reached up to push a strand of hair back from her face, she did not flinch. Instead, she leaned very slightly into his touch. "Is this all right?" Vincent asked softly. "Yes. Can I kiss you?" Priscilla's breath caught. Every instinct screamed warnings, but underneath the fear was something else. Want, hope, trust. "Yes." Vincent kissed her like she was precious, like he had all the time in the world. His lips were warm and gentle, asking rather than demanding, and when Priscilla's hands came up to grip his shirt, he made a soft sound of pleasure. The kiss stayed gentle, stayed safe, until Priscilla pulled back with her heart pounding and her cheeks flushed. "That was nice," she said, then immediately felt foolish. "I mean more than nice. I just do not have better words right now." Vincent was grinning, his eyes bright. "Nice works for me. Can I do it again sometime?" "I think I would like that." They kissed again. There in the barn with the horses as witnesses, and Priscilla felt something inside her that had been frozen for months finally begin to thaw. Winter arrived with surprising force in late November. Snow fell overnight, transforming the ranch into something from a Christmas card. Priscilla woke to find everything white and beautiful, and rushed downstairs to find Vincent and Samuel already preparing to care for the horses in the new weather. "First snow always comes with a lot of work," Samuel explained, pulling on heavy gloves. "Animals need extra feed, water troughs freeze, and we have to make sure everyone has adequate shelter." "What can I do to help? Stay warm," Vincent said, but he was grinning. "It gets cold out there and you are not used to this kind of work. Try me." So Vincent bundled her into a coat that was too big for her, wrapped a scarf around her neck, and led her out into the snow. They worked for hours, breaking ice on water troughs, carrying hay to the horses, checking that the barn was secure against the cold. Priscilla's fingers went numb inside her gloves, and her nose felt like it might fall off, but she kept working. Vincent watched her with obvious admiration, and that made the cold bearable. "You are stubborn," he said as they finally headed back to the house for lunch. "You say that like it is a bad thing. Not at all. I am stubborn too. We match." Vincent reached for her hand, and they walked the rest of the way connected. Inside, Samuel had hot coffee and sandwiches waiting. Priscilla's fingers tingled painfully as they warmed up, and Vincent showed her how to run them under cool water first to avoid the worst of it. "You did well out there," Samuel said. "I think you might be a natural rancher." "I just followed Vincent's instructions, which is half the battle right there." Samuel bit into his sandwich. "Vincent, I have been thinking. Spring is going to be busy with foaling season. We should probably hire on another hand, someone permanent. Vincent nodded slowly. That makes sense. Did you have someone in mind? There is a young fellow in town, Marcus Green, good with horses from what I hear and looking for steady work. I thought I might offer him a trial starting in March. Sounds good to me. They spent the rest of the afternoon inside, with Vincent teaching Priscilla how to mend tack while the wind howled outside. His hands guided hers through the process of stitching leather, patient and careful, and Priscilla found herself hyper-aware of every point of contact between them. "Vincent," she said quietly, "can I ask you something? Always. Are you ever afraid of this of us?" Vincent set down the bridle he was working on. "Yes. I am afraid I will do something wrong, say something that hurts you without meaning to. I am afraid I am not good enough, that I cannot give you everything you deserve, but I am more afraid of not trying. Of letting fear stop me from pursuing something that feels this right. What if Thomas comes? Then we will deal with it together." Vincent took her hand, threading his fingers through hers. "I know you are used to facing threats alone, Priscilla, but you do not have to anymore. You have me and you have Samuel. We are in this with you. I think I might be falling in love with you." The words escaped before she could stop them, and Priscilla felt her face flame. "I did not mean to say that out loud." Vincent's expression transformed, joy spreading across his face like sunrise. "Really? Yes, really. I did not want to, I tried not to. But you are so patient and kind and steady, and you make me feel safe. You make me believe in good things again. Priscilla Foster." Vincent pulled her close, wrapping his arms around her. "I have been in love with you since about the second week you were here. I just did not want to rush you." She buried her face in his chest, breathing in his familiar scent. "I am still afraid sometimes. That is all right. We will be afraid together, and we will be brave together. All of it together." Christmas came with more snow and a small celebration. Priscilla made a special dinner, roasting a chicken that one of the neighbors had brought by along with a pie made from preserved apples. She had secretly knitted a scarf for Vincent, working on it late at night when he thought she was already asleep. When he opened the wrapped package, his face went soft. "You made this. Do not look too closely at the stitching. I am better with a needle and thread than knitting needles." Vincent immediately wrapped the scarf around his neck, despite being inside by a warm fire. "It is perfect. Best gift I have ever received. You are easy to please." "No, I just know what is valuable." Vincent pulled her close and kissed her in front of Samuel, who made no effort to hide his satisfied expression. Vincent gave her a book of poetry, a beautiful leather-bound edition with gilt-edged pages. Inside the front cover he had written in careful script, "For Priscilla, who is teaching me about hope. Christmas 1878. She cried, of course, because she seemed to cry at everything these days, but these were happy tears. The kind she never thought she would shed again." Winter deepened through January and February of 1879. The ranch work was lighter in these months, focused mostly on maintaining equipment and caring for the horses. Vincent used the slower pace to court Priscilla properly, though there was little that was traditional about their courtship. He took her riding on the clear, cold days, bundled in layers, showing her the land beyond the immediate ranch. They rode to a frozen creek where ice formed fantastic shapes over the rocks, and Vincent told her stories about growing up in Colorado before his parents died. She told him about Missouri, about her childhood and her parents, and slowly about the nightmare her engagement to Thomas had become. "I should have left sooner," she said one day. They were in the barn, sitting close together in the hay loft while wind whistled outside. "I should have seen what he was earlier. He deceived you. That was his failing, not yours." Vincent's arm was around her shoulders, holding her against his warmth. We cannot always see clearly when we are close to something. And men like Thomas are good at hiding their true nature until they have you trapped. Do you think he will come looking for me? Honestly, I think you covered your tracks well, and it has been almost a year now. Most men would have given up or moved on to some other poor woman. Vincent's jaw tightened. But I want you to know that if he does show up, I will protect you. I am a good shot, and I am not afraid of bullies. I do not want you to have to shoot anyone because of me. I do not want to shoot anyone at all, but I would if it meant keeping you safe. Vincent pressed a kiss to her temple. You are everything to me, Priscilla. I would do whatever it took. Spring arrived in March with muddy ground and the first brave flowers pushing through the last patches of snow. Marcus Green started work at the ranch, a friendly young man of about 20 who was indeed good with horses and eager to learn. His presence meant Vincent had more free time, which he devoted almost entirely to Priscilla. They took long walks in the lengthening evenings, holding hands and talking about everything and nothing. Vincent told her his dreams for the future, about maybe having his own small ranch someday, raising horses and a family. Priscilla let herself imagine that future with him, something she never thought she would be able to do again. "Marry me," Vincent said one evening in April. They were sitting on their favorite spot on the porch, watching the sunset paint the sky in shades of orange and pink. Priscilla's heart stopped. "What? Marry me? I know it is fast, less than a year since you arrived, but I cannot imagine my life without you in it. I love you, Priscilla. I want to spend the rest of my life proving that to you." Vincent reached into his pocket and pulled out a simple gold band. "I know it is not fancy. I am just a ranch hand without much to offer, but I promise I will work hard and care for you and spend every day trying to deserve you." Priscilla looked at the ring, at Vincent's hopeful, anxious face, and felt joy flood through her like sunlight. "Yes, yes, yes, I will marry you. I love you, Vincent. You have shown me what kindness looks like, what real love feels like. You have been patient and gentle and steady, and you have proved every doubt I had wrong. Of course I will marry you." Vincent whooped and swept her into his arms, spinning her around on the porch until she was dizzy and laughing. When he finally set her down, he slid the ring onto her finger and kissed her so thoroughly that she forgot her own name. Samuel came out to investigate the commotion and grinned when he saw them. "About time. I was wondering when you were going to ask her, Vincent. I already have the pastor lined up for June if you want." "You knew?" Priscilla asked. "Of course I knew." "Vincent has been nervous about proposing for weeks now. I told him you would say yes, but he did not believe me." Samuel clapped Vincent on the shoulder. "Welcome to the family officially." They were married on a beautiful June morning in 1879, almost exactly a year after Priscilla had arrived in Winnemucca. The ceremony was small, just Samuel and Marcus, and a few neighbors who had become friends. Priscilla wore a new dress in pale blue that Vincent said made her eyes look like the sky, and Vincent wore his best shirt with the scarf she had knitted him. The pastor from town read the vows, and when he asked if Vincent would take Priscilla to be his wife, Vincent's voice rang out clear and certain. "I will." When it was Priscilla's turn, she looked into Vincent's eyes and saw her entire future there. "I will." The kiss was chaste given their audience, but full of promise. Afterward, they had a celebration with food and music, Marcus surprisingly skilled on a fiddle he had brought from home. Vincent danced with Priscilla in the yard, both of them laughing, both of them dizzy with happiness. "How did I get so lucky?" Vincent murmured against her hair. "We both got lucky." Priscilla pulled back to look at him. "A year ago I could not have imagined this, could not have imagined being happy again, but you showed me it was possible. You never gave up on me, even when I had given up on myself." I saw who you really were under all that fear. I just had to wait for you to see it too." That night, in the room they would now share, Vincent was as patient and gentle as he had been with everything else. He took his time, making sure Priscilla felt safe and cherished, and when she finally relaxed into his touch, it felt like coming home. "I love you," she whispered in the darkness afterward. "I love you too. Always will." The years that followed were good ones, full of hard work and simple joys. Vincent and Priscilla built a life together on the ranch, working alongside Samuel and Marcus. In 1880, Samuel decided to make Vincent a partner in the business, recognizing how much the ranch had grown under his care. Vincent was overwhelmed by the gesture, but Samuel insisted he had earned it. "Besides," Samuel said with a grin, "I am getting older and you are going to need to run this place eventually. Might as well make it official." In the spring of 1881, Priscilla discovered she was pregnant. Vincent was beside himself with joy and immediately became even more protective than usual. He would not let her lift anything heavy, insisted she rest more, and drove her slightly crazy with his hovering. "Vincent, I am pregnant, not made of glass," she said one afternoon when he tried to stop her from carrying a basket of laundry. "I know, but what if you trip? What if the baby will be fine. Women have been having babies forever, and they do not do it by sitting still for 9 months. Priscilla kissed his worried face. "I promise I will be careful, but you have to let me live my life." He tried to relax, though he never quite succeeded. Their son was born in December 1881, a healthy baby boy with Vincent's blue-green eyes and a surprisingly loud cry. They named him Samuel Henry Patterson, after the uncle who had given Priscilla refuge and Vincent's father who had died when Vincent was young. Holding his son for the first time, Vincent cried openly, "He is perfect! He is ours!" Priscilla was exhausted but glowing, watching her husband fall in love with their child. Our little miracle. Samuel Sr. was equally besotted with his namesake, spending hours rocking the baby and telling him stories about horses. Marcus proved unexpectedly good with children, able to get young Samuel to stop crying when no one else could. "I have 5 younger siblings back home," Marcus explained when Priscilla marveled at his skill. "Spent half my childhood caring for babies." The ranch continued to thrive. They expanded the operation, buying more land and breeding horses that became known throughout Nevada for their quality. Vincent's reputation as a trainer grew, and people came from all over to have him work with their difficult horses. He approached each one with the same patient kindness he had shown that first skittish stallion, and Priscilla never tired of watching him work. In 1883, their daughter was born, a tiny girl with dark hair like Priscilla's and a stubborn determination that promised future challenges. They named her Rose Margaret, after both their mothers. Young Samuel, now 2 years old, was fascinated by his baby sister and wanted to help with everything. "Gentle," Vincent reminded him constantly as Samuel tried to pet Rose like she was one of the horses. "She is very small and delicate." Life fell into a comfortable rhythm. Winters spent close to home, summers busy with work and watching the children grow. In 1885, Samuel Sr. died peacefully in his sleep, surrounded by the family he had helped create. His death was sad but not tragic, a life well lived coming to its natural end. They buried him on a hill overlooking the ranch with a simple stone that read, "Samuel Patterson, 1825–1885, beloved uncle and friend." "He gave me everything," Priscilla said at the graveside, holding Vincent's hand while Marcus watched the children. "He gave me refuge when I needed it most, and he gave me you. He was a good man. We will make sure his legacy continues." Vincent pulled her close. "The ranch, the horses, the family, all of it will honor his memory." With Samuel's passing, Vincent became the full owner of the ranch, though he immediately made Marcus a partner. "You have been with us for 6 years now," Vincent said. "You have earned your share of this place." Marcus was speechless with gratitude and promptly proposed to a girl from town he had been courting for a year. They married in the spring and moved into a small house Vincent and Priscilla had built on the other side of the property. And suddenly, the ranch was full of life and laughter. The children grew. Samuel was bright and curious, following Vincent everywhere and asking endless questions about horses. Rose was fearless, always climbing things she should not and giving her mother heart attacks with her daring. In 1887, they had another son, Jacob Thomas, and in 1890, a second daughter they named Clara Louise. 4 children, Vincent said one night, watching Priscilla rock baby Clara. "We have a whole houseful. Are you complaining?" "Not even slightly. I love our chaos." Vincent came over to kiss his wife's forehead, then the baby's. "I love that our house is full of noise and laughter. I love that we built this together." Priscilla looked around at their home, at the comfortable furniture, and the children's toys scattered across the floor, and the dishes from dinner still sitting on the table. It was messy and imperfect and absolutely beautiful. "I never thought I would have this. When I arrived here in 1878, I could not imagine ever being happy again." "You were so scared," Vincent remembered. "Would not trust me or anyone. I knew I had to be patient, had to prove to you that not everyone would hurt you. You spent years doing exactly that. Years of showing up every day with kindness and steadiness and love, until I finally believed it was real." Priscilla reached for his hand. "You saved me, Vincent. We saved each other. I was angry and lost when I came here. Samuel, and then you showed me what it meant to have a family, to have purpose. You made me want to be better." Vincent squeezed her hand gently. "We were both broken when we met, but we healed together." The ranch continued to prosper through the 1890s. Young Samuel, now a teenager, was already showing his father's gift with horses. Rose announced at age 12 that she intended to be a veterinarian, and no one doubted she would achieve it given her determination. Jacob was quieter but thoughtful, with a gift for numbers that meant he kept immaculate records of the ranch's finances. Clara was still small but already showing signs of inheriting her mother's kindness. In 1895, on a summer evening much like the one when they had first met, Vincent and Priscilla sat on their porch watching the sunset. They were older now, both in their early 40s, with gray threading through their hair and the kind of comfort that comes from years together. 17 years, Priscilla said softly. "We have been married 17 years. Best 17 years of my life." Vincent reached over to take her hand, his thumb rubbing across her knuckles in a gesture so familiar it was unconscious. "Do you ever regret it, staying here marrying me?" "Never." "Not once." Priscilla turned to look at him, this man who had proven every doubt wrong with his endless patience. "You gave me everything I thought I had lost. Safety, love, family, joy. You gave me a life worth living. You gave me the same. You gave me purpose and hope and a reason to be better than I was." Vincent brought her hand to his lips and kissed it gently. "I would do it all again. Every moment of waiting and proving and earning your trust. You were worth all of it." Inside the house, they could hear the children arguing about something, probably whose turn it was to do dishes. Marcus and his wife lived across the property now with their own growing family, and the ranch employed several other hands. It had become something substantial, something that would last beyond them. "Do you think Thomas ever found someone else to torment?" Priscilla asked. It was the first time she had said his name in years. "I hope he died miserable and alone," Vincent said flatly. "I am not generally a vindictive person, but I cannot forgive what he did to you. He seems like someone from another lifetime now, like it happened to someone else." Priscilla leaned her head on Vincent's shoulder. "You replaced every bad memory with good ones. You showed me what love actually looks like. Love looks like showing up, like being steady even when things are hard, like patience and trust and choosing each other every day." Vincent wrapped his arm around her. "That is what my mother taught me before she died. Real love is not a feeling, though feelings are part of it. Real love is a choice and a commitment. You chose me when I could barely choose myself. Best choice I ever made." They sat in comfortable silence as the sun finished setting and the first stars appeared. Samuel came out to tell them dinner was ready, tall now at 16 and looking more like his father every day. Rose followed, chattering about a book she had been reading about animal medicine. Jacob and Clara were already at the table, Clara insisting she was old enough to sit in a regular chair instead of her high chair. It was ordinary and wonderful, this life they had built. Vincent had spent years proving Priscilla's doubts wrong with Tenderness, and in doing so, had created something extraordinary. That night, lying in bed with Vincent's arms around her, Priscilla thought about the terrified woman who had stepped off the stagecoach in Winnemucca 17 years ago. That woman could never have imagined this peace, this joy, this absolute certainty that she was loved and safe. "Thank you," she whispered into the darkness. "For what? For never giving up on me. For seeing something worth loving when I could not see it myself. For being exactly what I needed, even when I did not know what that was." Vincent tightened his arms around her. "Thank you for letting me love you, for trusting me when trust was the hardest thing you could give, for building this beautiful life with me. I love you, Vincent Patterson. I love you, Priscilla Patterson. Always have, always will." The years continued to pass with the steady rhythm of seasons. The children grew and eventually began families of their own. Samuel married a rancher's daughter from Elko and took over the primary management of the horse breeding program. Rose, true to her childhood dream, went away to study veterinary medicine and returned as the first female veterinarian in the region, working with animals across 3 counties. Jacob married a schoolteacher and opened a mercantile in town, using his gift with numbers to build a thriving business. Clara became a teacher herself, patient and kind like her mother, beloved by generations of students. Vincent and Priscilla became grandparents many times over, their house often filled with the chaos of visiting grandchildren. Vincent was just as patient with them as he had been with everything else, showing them how to approach horses and telling them stories about their grandmother's journey to Nevada. "Grandma was scared when she came here," he told them. "But she was brave enough to try again, to open her heart one more time even though it had been broken. That is real courage." In 1910, Vincent and Priscilla celebrated their 31st wedding anniversary. They were in their 50s now, still healthy and active but beginning to slow down. The ranch was in good hands with Samuel and the other hands, which meant they could take time to simply enjoy each other's company. 31 years, Vincent marveled. "Remember when you could barely stand to be in the same room with me? I never could barely stand it. I was just scared." Priscilla smiled at him across their breakfast table. "You were the first person who made me feel safe after Thomas. I did not know what to do with that. So you tested me, pushed to see if I would push back or get angry or prove you right about men being cruel." Vincent reached for her hand. "I understood that, even then. I knew you needed to see that I was steady, that I would not change. And you never did. 31 years, Vincent, and you have never once raised your voice to me in anger, never once made me afraid. You kept every promise you made that first day when you picked me up from the stagecoach." Priscilla felt tears prick her eyes. "I arrived doubting everything, and you spent years proving every doubt wrong, not with grand gestures, but with tenderness, with showing up every single day and being exactly who you said you were. You were worth every moment of patience. Every time I proved that I was safe, every time you let yourself trust me a little more, it felt like a gift. Vincent stood and came around the table to pull her into his arms. I love you more now than I did on our wedding day, and I loved you desperately then. Every year together just adds to it. I love you too. You gave me a life I never dreamed possible. They held each other in the morning sunlight streaming through the kitchen window, two people who had found each other when both needed saving. The ranch hummed with life around them. Horses whinnied in the pastures. Grandchildren played somewhere in the distance, and the land stretched out endlessly under the Nevada sky. Vincent had spent years proving Priscilla's doubts wrong with tenderness, and in return, she had given him her trust, her love, and a life full of meaning. They had built something that would last beyond them, a legacy of patience and kindness, and the stubborn belief that broken things could heal if given enough time and care. "Remember that first day?" Priscilla asked. "When you told me some things are worth waiting for?" "I remember everything about that day. The way you looked at me like I might hurt you. The way you counted the coins twice before paying the driver. How you held yourself so carefully, like you might shatter." Vincent pressed a kiss to her temple. "And I remember thinking that you were worth waiting for, however long it took. It took almost a year before I let myself believe you were real, that your kindness was genuine. I know, but we had all the time in the world." They stood together in comfortable silence, two people who had chosen each other and kept choosing each other through everything life brought. The scared woman from the stagecoach and the patient cowboy who had seen past her fear to the person beneath. Outside, the Nevada sun climbed higher, warming the earth and everything on it. Somewhere on the ranch, Samuel was working with a young horse, using the same patient methods his father had taught him. Rose was treating a neighbor's sick cow with gentle competence. Jacob was calculating inventory while Clara read stories to her students in town. The family Vincent and Priscilla had created spread out across the land like roots, strong and deep and lasting. And at the center of it all was a love that had survived doubt and fear and trauma, transformed by time and tenderness into something unshakable. "What do you want to do today?" Vincent asked. "This." Priscilla held him tighter. "Just this. Sounds perfect to me." They stayed like that, holding each other in their kitchen, surrounded by the life they had built together. A life that had started with doubt and fear, but had blossomed into something beautiful through patience, kindness, and the steady, enduring power of love in the end. That was what mattered. Not the grand gestures or dramatic moments, but the quiet daily choice to show up with tenderness, to be steady and patient and kind, even when it was hard. To prove through action, not words, that love could be safe and real and lasting. Vincent had done that for Priscilla, and in healing her heart, had found his own healing too. Two broken people who had found each other in the wild Nevada desert and built something strong enough to last a lifetime. And it was enough. More than enough. It was everything.